starting from 2025 last year.
That's a long time back.
Long time ago, yes. And anyone remember anything about what we last discussed?
Soul is eternal.
Yes, that was,
The 2 points I remember, that the Arjuna surrender, and the second one, Krishna says that you need a teacher in your life.
Oh, very nice, yes. Yes, very nice. Anyone else? Anything they recall? We talked about Karma Yoga, transcendental knowledge.
Bhakti Yoga is the most important thing, and surrender to Krishna or Bhagavan.
Okay, fair enough. I know it's a lot has happened since our last class, and holidays and vacations and so many things. It seems a long time ago. So we will try to do a recap, not just session 3, but we'll do briefly. So our very first lesson that Krishna taught was, "I am not this body." Right? He said that because we go up from boyhood to youth to old age, similarly, we pass into another body at death. So the person is not really to change. So we are not these bodies; we are the spirit soul. Right? And then Arjuna was talking about not wanting to fight. Let me just go to the forest and meditate and chant and be peaceful. And Krishna said, no, you cannot do that. You have to be active. The soul is always active. The soul cannot be inactive for even a moment. And then in chapter 3, we also talked about the greatest enemy of the soul, Kama Esha Krodha Esha, this lust which turns into anger and so forth, is the greatest enemy, it's the real enemy of the soul. And Arjuna or Krishna talked about how that enemy has captured strategic positions in our body, in our mind, intelligence, and so forth, and that really needs to attack the enemy from the very beginning. Okay, and then we learned that in this principle of Karma Yoga that action doesn't have to be binding. We think of Karma Yoga as karma, we do something, we get to the action. But it can be both binding and liberating. And the difference is the knowledge with which we perform the action. And that's when we started discussing in chapter 4. And then in chapter 4, Krishna first started by saying that this knowledge is actually eternal. I gave this knowledge first to the sun god, Vivaswami, many centuries ago, so forth, right? And then Krishna also talks about himself. He talks about his appearance, the very famous verses, Yada Yada Hi Dharmashkila, right? So he talks about his appearance, why he comes, his purpose, the nature of his appearance, right? So he gives knowledge about he himself, and then he also discusses more this concept of action in inaction and inaction in action. What is action? What is inaction? And it's when the knowledge is combined with the action in the right way that the soul can make spiritual progress. Real understanding, when we really can understand this transcendental knowledge, that our karmic reactions are burned up. Karmic reactions, we can overcome the principles of karma and make real spiritual progress, and ultimately get out of the cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. And then in chapter 4, as someone was just saying, that the turning point becomes, Krishna is saying that yes, this knowledge is very crucial and important, but you need to take this knowledge from a bona fide guru, bona fide spiritual master in the disciplic line, not just a man-made or self-made guru, but someone who is come in a disciplic succession that leads all the way back up to the Supreme Lord. faith and doubt, and outcome of knowledge, right? So if we have faith, then the knowledge can be helpful and useful, and we can leverage it. If we have doubt, the knowledge can actually hurt us too. Right? So then we're going into today's chapter, which is actually Karma Yoga again, Karma Yoga Revisited, which we'll talk about. And then also today we will cover chapter 6, which is Dhyana Yoga. So that's roughly our journey so far. Hopefully that helps you refresh some of the key points that we discussed. Okay. So, starting today, chapter 5. So, at the end of chapter 4, Krishna concluded. He said two things. He says, one who acts in devotional service, renouncing the fruits of actions. We heard this concept of renouncing the fruits of actions many, many times, starting in chapter 2. Karmanya yogya karate hikaraste ma parishukadachana, and chapter 3, the whole principle of karma yoga, doing action without attachment. It's Nishkam Karma Yoga. So renouncing the fruits of actions, and then as in chapter 4, whose doubts have been destroyed by transcendental knowledge, by understanding who we are, who the Lord is, what the relationship is situated factually in himself. He's firmly situated. He knows his path. He knows what he's doing. And therefore, he is not going to be bound by the reactions of work. He's addressing Arjuna as Parantapa, conqueror of riches. Therefore, and then Krishna says, the doubts that have risen in your heart out of ignorance, you should cut with the slash by the weapon of knowledge. And then armed with this understanding, armed with yoga, stand up and fight. Right? So after all this explanation of knowledge and so forth, Krishna comes back and tells Arjuna, stand up and fight. Right? So this is the point. And actually, sometimes people think that Bhagavad Gita is all about fighting and war and so forth. But actually, it's not so true. Most of Bhagavad Gita, very, very few places that Krishna actually tells Arjuna to fight. Most of it, Krishna is explaining the actual position of the soul, position of the Lord, and the different ways by which the soul can make real progress towards his ultimate goal. So, at the beginning of chapter 5, Arjuna is perplexed again. And he actually asks again, "O Krishna, first of all, you tell me to renounce work. Right? You're telling me to renounce work, act in devotional service. Devotional service means renounce work, dedicate yourself to me. And then again, you recommend work with devotion. Now kindly tell me, definitely, which of the two is more beneficial." So this question Arjuna essentially asked at the beginning of chapter 3 also. And chapter 3 and chapter 5 are kind of have a lot of parallels. And chapter 5 gives a different perspective on the whole karma yoga, right? So essentially the same question in chapter 3. Arjuna also asked, "What should I do, Krishna? You telling me to do yoga and renounce everything on the one hand, and on the other hand, you're telling me to fight." So now essentially the same question, what should I do? Now Krishna could give the same answer. He says, no, stand up and fight. I already told you this. And Arjuna could say, I already heard that answer. Right? No, it's not that I'm not understanding. So if Krishna gave the same answer to this question in a slightly different way, maybe this might not be so helpful. On the other hand, Krishna could get a little angry here and say, look, why do you keep asking me the same question? You already asked me this. You asked me this in chapter 2, you asked me again in chapter 3, and now you're asking me again, right? Why do you keep asking me the same question? Are you not hearing? Are you not paying attention? Stop wasting my time, right? Krishna could take that approach, right? Now, again, this would probably not be helpful. It would be definitely a little unfriendly and perhaps insulting, right? So, Krishna's not going to do that. So, another approach we take, or someone takes, if we get the same question multiple times, is to answer, but from a different perspective. Different perspective hopefully will help Arjun understand. So, an example, just to help understand this point. Supposing you're selling a house. If you're selling a house, there's different perspectives. Inside the house may look this way, that way, so forth. May have this kind of layout, living room, kitchen, family room, all, very ceilings, whatever. And so inside it may be comfortable, cozy. Now outside it may look impressive. It may look impressive. Big. Nicely architected, so forth. And then if you were to look from a drone image, above, you get a different perspective. Now you get the idea of the locality, the houses in this cul-de-sac, or the school nearby, and so forth, right? So all of these are different perspectives. And this is the mark of a good salesperson. He doesn't get impatient or angry, right? He gives all of these different perspectives to help someone really understand the different viewpoints. Different perspectives will appeal to different buyers, and they will therefore latch on to different concepts in that way. So this is what Krishna is going to do in this chapter 5, right? 3 and 5, they have many similarities. Anyone remember the title of chapter 3?
Who am I? Who am I?
No, that was more chapter 2. Chapter 2 is contents of Gita summarized. Chapter 3, the title was Karma Yoga, right? Karma Yoga, specifically focusing Nishkam Karma Yoga. In chapter 5, in Prabhupada's Gita, you will see the title is also Karma Yoga, but has a little suffix. Karma Yoga, action in Krishna consciousness. Now that's a little bit of a mouthful, but here Krishna is going to elaborate and approach the Karma Yoga from a slightly different angle and explain different facets of it, right? So this is the principle. So now Arjun has at this point 2 options: to renounce work or to engage in work. And Krishna says, so he asks, tell me for certain which is best. And Krishna initially answers that both these paths are good, Karma Yoga and renunciation of karma sannyas, renouncing work. They can take us in the right direction. And both of these have the same goal. What is that goal? To get out of the cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease, and return to the spiritual abode. Krishna says that those who think they are different, they're actually not so intelligent. But then Krishna also says that yes, both paths are good, they can take you to the same place, but of the two, Krishna says, Karma Yoga is the easier path. He says, Sannyasastu mahabaho dukkam aptum ayogata. Right? The path of renunciation is dukkam. Dukkam means full of distress. Dukkam aptum means it afflicts us with distress, this path of renunciation. Whereas, yoga yukta munir brahma na chiren adi kachati. Na chiren means without delay, adi kachati attains. So the yoga, the path of karma yoga, one can rapidly attain his desired goal. And sannyas or renunciation has many, many different interpretations, right? In Gnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, renunciation means minimal activity, but in Bhakti Yoga, sannyas doesn't mean cessation from activities or minimal activities. It means just as much activities, but activities that are connected directly to the Supreme Lord. Activities in devotion. Activities, as Prabhupada would say, in Krishna consciousness. So as we have discussed, giving up activities is difficult. Why? Because by nature, we are active. The soul is active. The soul cannot be inactive for even a moment. And forcing it to become inactive and just shut out everything, it goes against its very nature. Krishna once again reiterates that the simplest and safest path is not to give up the work or duty, but to give up the desire to enjoy fruits of the work. And give up the desire to enjoy it, and instead develop the desire to offer the fruits of our work to the Supreme Lord. Do our work in the service of the Supreme Lord. Do our work to please the Supreme Lord. We may ask, God has given us so many different abilities, right? To speak, to work, to do so many different things. If God has given these things, why should we want to give them up? Does it make sense? God has given them. So, bondage doesn't come from using our God-given abilities necessarily. Bondage comes from thinking that these abilities are mine, and my abilities, and therefore my use, and therefore my benefit. When we adopt that mentality that, this is mine, I did it, I worked, I achieved, therefore I deserve, then that path leads to bondage. So Arjuna becomes convinced that the path of karma is easier, better than the path of renunciation. But now he's starting to wonder, okay, how do I actually perform this path of karma yoga? So in these next few verses, Krishna will start to explain the path of karma. He says you need to regulate the senses. Important distinctions. He doesn't say you need to control the senses. He says you need to regulate. Right? He says in the 7th verse, chapter 5, one who works in devotion, who is a pure soul, and who controls his mind and senses is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Though always working, such a man is never entangled. Right? So the key is working in devotion, and what does that mean? Right? It's not that we deprive the senses. Right? We all like to eat nice things, palatable things. So we can, for our scriptures, we follow a vegetarian diet, we prepare nice foodstuffs, we offer to the Lord, and then we accept the remnants of the offerings as His mercy. So we are enjoying, our senses are receiving happiness in that sense, and at the same time, we're performing devotional service. So by this process, gradually we can overcome our uncontrolled senses and make rapid advancements. Prabhupada gives us an easy method by which to do this. Just as in school we learn ABC, right? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? So forth. Right? Prabhupada gave us at least the ABCD here. He says, A, association. How can we do these? How can we develop this progress? Association. What does association mean? Association means spending time with like-minded people, people interested in doing things other than, as we say, material mentality. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending, everything, right? Something more than that to life. Some people interested in cultivating that thought process. B, how do we get that information? From books. Books, Bhagavad Gita, so many other books on Krishna consciousness that we can try to assimilate. And then C, chanting. The process for this age, Kalyuga, is Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam Eva Kevalam, right? Simply chant the holy name of the Lord, chant the holy name of the Lord, chant the holy name of the Lord, right? By that process, our heart becomes cleansed and it becomes receptive to digest, absorb, receive real knowledge. And then D, diet, right? Diet. So adopting a sattvic diet, a vegetarian diet, eating prasad, right? So these are the key elements of being able to do this. So we have to remember that this rare human body we have is a gift from the Lord, and we should dedicate it for His mission and use it in a way that He would be pleased. This is the meaning of sacrifice. And we should always keep our end goal in mind. What is that end goal? Right? Our end goal is to attain self-realization and free ourselves from the cycle of samsara, return to our eternal home in the spiritual world. If we can perform our work with this consciousness while in this material world, at the end of life, we attain our ultimate goal of destination. Such a friend, such a person is a friend to everyone, right? So, not covered there, but here's the key. So, Krishna concludes this section in 5:13. He's saying, one who is able to regulate his senses and renounce the desires to enjoy the fruits of his work, he can live happily in the city of 9 gates. What is the city of 9 gates? Anyone know?
Our body.
Yes, right? Our body, right? Our body, and the 9 gates refers to eyes, the nostrils, mouth, ears, genitals, etc. 9 gates of the body. And he says, Sarva karmani manas sannyasyasте sukham vasi navattvare puyidehi naiva kurvan nakaryan. When the embodied living being controls his nature and mentality, renounces all actions, he resides happily in the city of 9 gates. Material body, neither working nor causing work to be done. Now suppose Arjuna asks, how do I actually do this? This sounds easy in theory, all of this, but how can I actually detach myself from the outcomes of my action? Arjuna can ask this question. And Krishna says, look, it's just a matter of understanding. You think that you're doing all of these things and that makes it difficult for you to become detached, but first you understand that actually you are not the doer. You are not the doer, Krishna says. Krishna says, Na kartavyam na karmani lokasya sudati prabhu. He says, the embodied spirit, master of the city of his body, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of actions. All this is enacted by the modes of the material nature, right? Krishna says, the way in which you can practically perform karma yoga is by understanding you are not the doer. If we can grasp this concept, then we won't be thinking that, look, I did this, therefore I deserve the benefit, I deserve the credit, right? When we consider our doers, then we feel entitled to the result. But if we can understand we're not the doer, we can easily accept that if we didn't do this, then the results aren't really ours, right? Even in chapter 3, we covered this concept. Krishna says, Prakrute kriyamana guna karmini sarvasyaha, right? The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself to be the doer of activities that are actually carried out by the 3 modes of material nature. When we think about this, we realize we are not the only doer. Krishna explains here that there are 3 doers, right? We have a role to play. We have the initial desire to do something. And the Lord within us, in the form of Paramatma, He sanctions it. Based on our karma, based on our abilities and so forth. Krishna will says, yes, you deserve this, or you can do this, we know. So Krishna, in the form of Paramatma, sanctions, and then the material modes of nature actually execute. So then someone may ask, if I am not the doer, how can I be held responsible for my actions? And isn't this the law of karma, that I do things and therefore I become responsible and I get the reaction? Right? This is not fair. I did not do this. The activity was carried out by modes of nature. Why are you holding me responsible? A criminal may say, I didn't do this. No. It was modes of material nature. The police isn't going to take that argument very seriously, right? But the reality is that we are still accountable because it was our desires that was the initial cause. And if our desires cause someone harm or sinful, then we are held accountable. And if the desire was pious and helpful, then we will be duly rewarded. This is the law of karma, right? So, this is the first principle. We are not the doer, Therefore, automatically we can be detached from the results. Now Krishna tells Arjuna, one who understands he's not the doer and performs karma yoga with that consciousness and is never attached to the results, Krishna says he is a pandita. He says such a person sees with equal vision. Right? What are his characteristics? He says, Vidya Vinaya Sampanna, Brahmanika Vihasti. He says, the humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision. A learned, a gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater. These are his characteristics. He sees with equal vision. He sees the Lord residing in every living entity, living being. Elephant, dog eater, tree, right? He sees the Supreme Lord in his form as Paramatma, in the heart of all living beings, and he sees that it is the Paramatma that is sanctioning all activity. By seeing the Lord in all beings, he naturally becomes respectful to all beings. And seeing with this spiritual vision, such a person never discriminates at any level. Racism, gender discrimination, caste discrimination, nationality discrimination, discrimination even between species, right? We're humans, wherefore we're superior. Because why? Because the Pandita, he sees the Lord equally everywhere in all living entities. And now remember that the Lord spoke these instructions 5,000 years ago, and even before that he spoke these to the sun god many thousands of years ago. And we can see it's still applicable, even more so now. We understand why all these wars are happening and so forth. It's around these principles. This belongs to me, you guys are different from this, and so forth, right? All these divisions in society that cause so much strife and distress, if everyone developed this mentality, how much peace and harmony could exist, right? In addition, this kind of pandit, if you like, or intelligent person, understandable person, never wastes any of his time or any of his energy in pursuits that are temporary. That we're going to do something for a little bit, we get some benefit, and then it's gone. Illusory, these types of pursuits are temporary, illusory, that can divert him from his ultimate goal, which is to achieve the love of God. In 522, we'll look at next, Krishna explains the fallacy of trying to enjoy in this material world. Okay. So he says, ultimately material pleasures are a source of misery. Right? He says, Yehi samprashada bhoga dukha yonaya evate adi anantavanta konteya na teshu ramate buddhaha. Buddhaha means one who is intelligent. Na teshu ramate. He does not relish, he does not enjoy these kind of things. Why? Because adi anantavanta, they have a beginning and an end, O Kunteya, son of Kunti. Dukha yonaya. Dukha yonaya evate. These samprashada, this so-called happiness we feel from the senses and the sense objects, they are actually beginning of dukkha, or entry into suffering, right? And a nice little picture here, right? Nice little picture which summarizes this, right? And in this image, you can see the elephant is pulling the tree. The elephant represents our past karma. And when that tree or that branch falls, it's going to fall into this pool of snakes. That represents our future karma. And this branch is going to break any time. That's our present life. And these black and white rats, that's day and night, chewing away at this branch every day and every night. Soon that branch will break, right? And this honeycomb, dripping lots of honey, that is Maya. That is keeping us attracted to material life. And because of this honeycomb, is being pricked and attacked by these bees constantly. But still, he has his tongue out. because he's trying to capture the honey that's dripping from the honeycomb, right? And here Lord Vishnu, he's extending his arm. Here, give me your hand, give me your hand. I'll take you, I'll save you from this. But he's so engrossed in the dripping honey and nectar, he fails to see the extended hand of Mahavishnu. So this is the situation of trying to enjoy material pleasures. We get caught up, we forget what our real goal is, and we ultimately are just binding ourselves in future karma. An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which are due to contact with material senses, O son of Kunti. Such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and the wise man does not desire them. Enjoying sense pleasures is like pouring ghee into a fire of desires. It increases the desires, but the desires never decrease. Our worldly life is filled with sense pleasures, yet we remain unhappy. Whereas the yogi, the Buddha, he controls his senses, regulates his senses, and he enjoys ultimate happiness and joy. So, some takeaways: don't be a bhogi, try to be a yogi. So Arjun hears Krishna, acknowledges, yes, what you are saying is right, but how can a person living in this material world, who has material desires by virtue of possessing this material body, how can such a person attain real peace? In response to this, Krishna concludes this chapter 5 by giving what's known as the peace formula. In the last verse of chapter 5, Krishna gives the ultimate peace formula. He put a nice picture recently of our President, Prime Minister Modi giving Vladimir Putin a Bhagavad Gita. This is Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita there, right? And hopefully he pointed out, here's the peace formula, in the Bhagavad Gita. So this Bhagavad Gita, the last verse, Bhokta Ram Yagyatapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram Shuridam Sarva Bhutanam Natva Mam Shantim Richati, right? Bhokta Ram Yagyatapasam, know me. Krishna says these things, if you can understand these, then you can experience real peace, on an individual level as well as on a global, societal level. Bhoktaram Yagyatapasam, know me, and Krishna is speaking here, to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities. I am the Bhokta, I am the enjoyer, no one else. Do everything for me, I am the only enjoyer, Krishna is saying. So, and then he says, Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. No, I am Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. Ishwara means controller, Maha means great controller. Great controller of what? Sarva Loka, not just this earth, Sarva Loka, all planets, all universes. I am the supreme controller of all planets and demigods. Not only am I the enjoyer and the controller, but I'm also your best friend. Shuridam Sarvabhutanam. I am the benefactor and the well-wisher of all living entities. Not just humans, not just Indians, all living entities. I am the benefactor and well-wisher. If you can understand this, Natva, if you can understand this, know me as all of these things, Shanti Richati, you can attain real peace. Knowing this, one attains peace from the pangs of material miseries, right? So, and just quickly wrap up. Prabhupada used to use this verse in the context of United Nations many times. He used to say, the United Nations has been trying to bring world peace for the last 25 years, and he was speaking this in the 1960s, late 60s, early 70s. So now it's been 80 years since the United Nations was formed. So why is it peace not possible? Because United Nations have limited conception of life. They think I am this body. I was born in such a nation. The basic principle is wrong. The conception of life is wrong. Therefore, the United Nations has failed. Has failed to bring about peace in the world. They're outwardly saying, now we have come to the United Nations, but no one's going to be united. Everyone is thinking it is my interest first. I must veto if it is opposing. That's going on. So therefore, last 20 years, 80 years, more than that, they are trying to be united, but becoming disunited. Prabhupada used to note every time he used to go by the United Nations Plaza, more flags, more flags. I see another flag has increased. The United Nations is a failure. It will continue to be a failure as long as there is no consciousness, no understanding of Bhaktaram. He used to say, this ISKCON, this is the real United Nations. We have devotees from every country, Russia, China, Ukraine, America, England, Germany, Japan, and so forth. They're all coming under one roof, under one umbrella together. What are they doing? They're glorifying the Supreme Lord. They're all blissful. This is real unity. This is real peace. So Arjuna is wondering, Krishna is saying, to attain peace, I need to regulate my mind and senses. How is this possible? Krishna is sensing Arjuna's inquiry. He will answer in detail in next chapter, chapter 6.
So that was a very interesting point about peace formula. Just recap it. I found that's one of my favorite verses. Krishna says you'll find peace if you know something. Gyatva mam. Knowing something will give you lasting peace. How is that possible? Knowing what? He says there's two things. I am incredibly powerful. Bhoktaram Yagyatakasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. I control all the planets. That's very powerful. If you know somebody is so powerful, but that person is not your friend, then this person to be feared, then you'll not be at peace. Or if you have a very close friend, like he'll do anything for you, but he has no power. He is completely like Kangal and no connection, nothing. I'll give my life for you. What is the use of your life? You can't. But if you have a friend who is very much loving you and is very powerful, then you can be at peace. You see? So, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram and Suhridam. I am a Suhrid. So you combine those two. The Gyatva Mam Shanti Mrichati. If you know that, then you'll be at peace. Naturally. So, if you know somebody in high places who will be there in the middle of the night for you, you will sleep very nicely. Think about it. Right? And that's what Krishna is saying. And if everybody can know that, then this idea of fighting each other and all that all goes away. Then they get real united, like Prabhupada was saying, real united nation. It's really amazing. If you think of these verses. Now we go to chapter 6, and Prabhupada transitioned very nicely. Arjuna is wondering, yeah, but my mind, So chapter 6 is going to cover these points. It answers one central question. How does a sincere person actually become spiritually steady when the mind itself is so unsteady? Everything else may be nice, but my mind itself, it's a big problem. So Krishna answers in 4 different areas. These are 4 different areas. Right action, what to do so that your mind is running properly. Then mastery of the mind itself. Is that possible? How to do that? The chapter is called what? Dhyana Yoga. Yes, we are doing Dhyana Yoga. And then you realize it's not that easy, but you still have to persevere. Keep doing it because that's the path. It'll be difficult, but you keep bringing yourself practice. And then he'll talk about the highest yoga, which is the ultimate Dhyana Yoga, which is actually Bhakti Yoga. And he concludes that at the end is the supremacy of loving devotion. So now Krishna begins by addressing a common misunderstanding. A yogi, he says, is not someone who escapes responsibility. A real yogi performs his duties responsibly. What is our duties? Be a family person, raise our children, go to make sure they're educated, make sure they're fed, their future is bright, everyone is healthy. These are our duties. Yogi doesn't mean you don't do that. A real yogi is unattached to the results. That attachment to particular outcomes, it actually stresses us out. And the stress will bind us to this world. And the doctor will tell you the stress is going to cause your body also to be suffering. How is it possible? So the real yogi renounces not the action, but the selfish element of the motivation. You see, selfishness is the enemy. In chapter 3 it says, Kama esha krodha esha. Kama means lust, but you can also translate that to selfishness. It means strong desire to enjoy separately, to enjoy selfishly. Kamnaya. So, renunciation, renunciation means just giving up everything. That's also path. And yoga means trying to connect with God. They are not two different paths actually. They are the same path at different stages. As we progress, our renunciation gets more deep and more internal. So then, when we are beginners, Krishna says, for the beginner, when we do selfless work, we have to do work. Work we all have to do. But if you do it selflessly, then that selfless action itself cleanses and purifies our motives. It purifies the heart. And it clears the mind to connect with God better. That's for beginners. Okay, what about advanced? For the advanced, when all the material desires completely fade away, like nothing means anything anymore, you really lose taste for all selfishness. You really do. Then the external duties, they naturally fall away. They take care of themselves. So how do you know, how do you test? How do you test if you're advanced? Do I still feel craving for sense gratification, selfish sense gratification? If there's a little bit, no problem. The purification through our regulated action, that's still required. Go to the next one. The 3 points we talked about. Go to the next. Four. Now, so here, Krishna introduces one of the most quoted truths in the Gita. Mind, both friend and enemy. Greatest friend or greatest enemy. An uncontrolled mind keeps dragging our consciousness into habits, fears, and desires. If we're stuck in bad habits, if we're stuck in always thinking about what we're fearing, it's not very constructive. And our desires are not also, they're mostly selfish. That means our mind is not under our control. It just goes and we just let it go. Sometimes we think it's not even possible. What can I do? But a conquered mind has actually been aligned by a proper yoga process. That conquered mind becomes a guide to the super souls. Krishna is in the heart, called super soul. And we start relating with the Lord in the heart. It makes these external things, heat, cold, honor, dishonor, pleasure, pain, equal. Like someone who has conquered their mind, they tolerate things very easily and smile through them. We want to be like that. We want to be non-irritated by things that generally irritate us. That's how advanced people have those qualities. We see them. That person becomes what is called deeply peaceful and internally satisfied. We want these things, don't we? We want to be peaceful. Right? Internally satisfied. Gold and stone appear the same. Friends and enemies regarded equally. We love everybody. We don't consider this enemy. They may think we are their enemy, but that's not our business. So the yogi begins to live in the core of the self, not from external circumstances. This is Krishna discussing this. Now we go to the next one. Alright, fine, theoretically all that sounds very good. I want this. How do I go about it? Then he starts giving practical step-by-step approach. He says, go to a secluded, sanctified place. Sit up straight, back straight. Upright posture. Control your senses. Focus the mind. Do dhyan on the Lord in the heart. Now, Arjun thinks, wow, that's a little extreme. Like, go somewhere and do this. Now, Krishna balances this. He says, okay, be realistic. He gives some pitfalls of the failure of trying to connect with God. Failure of yoga. How does yoga fail? When our lifestyle is extreme, yoga fails. What is extreme? Then he gives. If you eat too much, or you starve yourself too much. You have to be balanced, middle path. Generally we make mistake on the side of eating too much. Very few people make the mistake of eating too little. But Krishna is saying, don't eat too much, don't eat too little. Healthy food, sattvic food, eat prasad only. Then too much sleeping or not sleeping enough. That's also problematic. There is such a thing as too much sleep. Generally, although, in our crazy lives, it's so imbalanced. We try to catch up with the sleep on the weekend, and the weekdays we just sleep a couple hours. It's hard to fall asleep, everything's so stressful. So this is hard to do yoga when we're not regulated in our sleep and eating. Same thing with overworking or indulgence, or overworking out. We need to work out a little bit. We need to go for a walk sometime, keep the body moving. He's talking about all these very practical things in this chapter. That's interesting to note in itself. Overworking or overindulgence. So spiritual life, what is spiritual life? Spiritual life means trying to connect with God in a practical daily way. It thrives on regulated balance. These are things you got to balance. Then our mind can be clear. And the goal of meditation is what? It's not emptiness. It is not some light. It is God in the heart. It is Krishna. It is a person. The goal is Krishna himself. So ultimately the goal of all yoga is to really be conscious of the presence of Krishna in your life. We are the society, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. We want to be conscious of Krishna in our lives. In every way. Seeing his hand in our life. Seeing his presence in our heart. Seeking his guidance through his teachings. That's all the whole thing is about. So now Krishna gives a very beautiful analogy. When the yoga process matures, and it's possible, by the way, to start the yoga process and mature in this life. It's possible. There's ways to do it. And that's what ISKCON is all about. The whole point of Krishna consciousness is this. When yoga matures, something quite extraordinary happens. Our thoughts no longer rush outwards. Because you'll be like this. The mind becomes steady like a lamp in a windless place. The yogis, they see the self by the self. This is the self, I'm inside. We rejoice within. We experience happiness that is so deep that nothing external can shake that happiness. This state is called samadhi. You heard of the word samadhi. Samadhi means you're free from misery. You're unshakable. You have absolutely rock solid, unshakable inner sense of fulfillment. And Krishna says, one realizes there's no greater gain than this. See, because outside world is going to change anyway. At the end of life, we're going to lose this body anyway. We really stress out about things that are utterly inconsequential. And when you really realize that, you're doing this. So, at this point, Arjuna does something that's very essential. He asks a question. He says, it's very difficult. Chanchal hi mana Krishna, pramati balavat dridam, tasyaham nigram manye, vayu reva sudushkaram. It's like controlling the mind is like controlling the wind. Do you think we are better than Arjuna at controlling the mind?
No.
You know how focused Arjuna was? He could balance on those scales, look at the reflection of the spinning fish in the water, and shoot it through the eye that's spinning up there, the mechanical fish. And he's saying, I can't control my mind. So who are we? He admits the difficulty. Krishna doesn't say, what are you talking about? It's so easy. No. He says, Asamshayam Mahabaho. Certainly, Mahabaho, the arms, Arjuna. Certainly, it's true. It's very difficult. I agree with you. He affirms it, doesn't deny it. But then he gives the key. See, the key is what? Can be controlled by practice and detachment. Abhyasa and vairagya. These two things, we can make progress in both of them every day. Little bit abhyasa, little bit vairagya. Not by repression, not by force, by bringing it back again and again. It goes out, you bring it back. Goes out, bring it back. Because our nature is to go out. No, bring it back. Right now, abhi to dhyan ka time hai. Bhagwan ka jap karna hai abhi. We have to chant Krishna's name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna says of all sacrifices, I am japa. That will come later. So we do japa is the number one way of practicing yoga in Kali Yuga. Japa of Krishna's name. So when we are doing japa, our mind goes here and there, we bring it back. So Krishna is saying, bring it back again and again. And that's something, by the way, I advise or invite all of you to start doing Hare Krishna japa every day. One mala. We have to start somewhere. every return of the mind is not a failure. That is the practice itself. Every return of the mind back to the sound of japa, of Krishna, is an act of bhakti, selfless act of bhakti. ये हम हर रोज करेंगे ना, एकदम strong हो जाएंगे. We'll get strong if you do it daily. Now, what if I fail? The top of one more. What if I fail? This is Arjuna's question. He fears failing spiritually, losing material. He's like, I'll try spiritual life and I fail there, but I've also abandoned my material life. Ye bhi gaya, wo bhi gaya. That's a very good question. Wouldn't I be just left out without any support? I'll lose materially, I'll be left with nothing. Krishna answers very decisively. One who does good is never destroyed. Any little progress you make in spiritual life, that is permanent asset. A sincere yogi never loses their progress. In fact, even if you succeed in material life, that money you can't take with you. But even little bit of success on spiritual side, it carries over to the next life. So that is actually more solid. If perfection is not achieved in this lifetime, then you rise to the higher realms. Krishna says, you will enjoy in heavenly planets for a long time. I'll give you a break. I'll give you a vacation in Hawaii. But his Hawaii is like millions of years in very luxury. Then you come back after relaxing a bit, start again. But now I'll put you in a family of very progressive spiritualists. It's like if you're born in a culture where spirituality is embedded, we're very fortunate. We should consider that we may have tried a little bit and Krishna has given us birth to this. We should consider ourselves very fortunate. So it says that his previous practice will be impelled in this life. It will naturally continue. So you say I left at 3%, you start at 4%. That's why spiritual effort is now wasted. It carries across lifetimes. And Krishna concludes his last verse of chapter 6. He concludes the powerful hierarchy. Bhakti yogi is the highest yogi. Yoginam api sarvesham mad gatena antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam sami pratamamata. Of all the yogis, one with great faith who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me, renders his bhakti. Bhajate. So you see, this is Dhyana Yoga chapter, but he's talking about bhakti. So this is the best Dhyana yogi. In my opinion, he says, that's my opinion, he's the best, he's very close to me, the closest. This is bhakti process. What they're doing here? They're singing Krishna's name, they're worshipping Krishna's deity, this jap kar rahe hain. He's talking about Krishna, he's thinking about Krishna, he's offering food. This is the bhakti process, and Krishna says this is the highest system. And this is what we try to do in ISKCON. We try to follow it ourselves, we try to share it with others. We invite you all to come to see how it's done and enjoy it. And you can do all this without having to give up your responsibilities. So, chapter 6 summary. Begin where you are with regulated action. Defend the mind through steady practice. Do not fear struggle or failure. Don't worry, struggle will be there. Trust that every sincere effort counts. And finally, the highest is the end of chapter 6. The highest meditation is loving remembrance of Krishna. So that's chapter 6. And now is a recap, or we'll talk about. Do we want to talk about next week's session? And then we can have question answer.
Yeah. So just very briefly, next week we'll try to cover chapter 7 and 8. Chapter 7, knowledge of the Absolute. Very interesting chapter. Right? Krishna explained how his divine energy can be overcome, amongst other things. And in chapter 8, how to obtain the Supreme. Obtaining the Supreme. Right? And a secret formula for actually attaining the Supreme is given in chapter 8. So we'll try to cover both of those chapters next week, chapter 5. So, we took out that slide, right?
Which one?
The three.
Oh, the three things, the three words. Yeah. That should be, we should put that back in there.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have to do it every time.
All right.
We can just come straight to questions now.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Okay.
people have questions.
So, yeah, we were hoping to leave a few more minutes for questions and answers.
This one back, so it is somebody.
Um,
That's good.
But what's this thing?
Presentation mode, yeah. Just another slideshow, yeah. Slideshow.
So yes, please, your reflections, your thoughts, anything that's stuck with you.
Kshitij is smiling. I'm sure he has a question. When he's smiling, he knows we know he has a question.
Something is coming.
Anyone have any comments or questions? This is the time. We have a few minutes.
I think
Yes.
just one question. So I think as we were going through the slides and talking about, it starts from our desire, and then Paramatma sanction is, and there are three material modes. You know how we execute it. What are those three material modes?
Oh, okay. Three material modes: mode of ignorance, tamas; mode of passion, rajas; and mode of goodness, sattva. Sattva gun, rajagun, tamagun. And in Bhagavad Gita, we'll hear a lot more about those in these later chapters. Chapter 14 is just all about those three modes of material nature and how they interact. Chapter 17 talks about, different activities, religion, charity in the mode of goodness, passion, ignorance, and so forth. So how those modes, it's a theme throughout the Bhagavad Gita, the material modes of nature, as they are called. So how we our consciousness.
Yeah, I can just summarize real quick what the three modes are. Yeah, just go. So the three modes, goodness, passion, ignorance, what do the modes even mean? The word used is guna. Guna can mean quality. किसी के आदमी के गुण होते हैं. Also, guna means rope. It ties us. Double meaning. Both meanings are relevant. So, they are material modes. They actually tie us down. They condition us into behaving certain ways. That's why that is a picture that pulling the strings, right? The three modes are pulling the strings because we are conditioned to act a certain way. A person who is a Kshatriya, no matter where you put them, that person will be conditioned to defend people. They can't stop themselves. They'll jump to someone's rescue. Like the muscle memory, they're conditioned. See, this are the three modes. So we are conditioned. If someone is a businessman, no matter where you put them in the world, they'll start doing business somehow. That's how it is. You know it is. So similarly, and where is that conditioning coming from? It is coming from the modes that we acquire. So if we cultivate certain kind of modes, then those become stronger. The sattva gun, those whose sattva gun is very prominent, what are their qualities? They're very clear in thought. They're very peaceful. They're very tolerant. These are all nice, rare qualities, good qualities, saintly qualities. It's a sattva. So like that, how do we become one or the other? If we start living those lifestyles, we become that. If we eat food that is very much in mode of passion, and if we start associating with people who are into that, gradually we'll become like that. But if we eat food that is mode of goodness, ahara shuddha, sattva shuddhi. Ahar, start with ahar. A lot of things start with food. So that's why we want maximum sattva gun. Now sattva gun is still material. But we want to go beyond sattva. How is that possible? Sattva gun helps us because sattva gun is a prerequisite for knowledge to take place. We cannot receive knowledge if there's no clarity in the mind. Sattva gun brings clarity. It's like microscope. You may have the best microscope, but if the lens is dirty, then it's useless. So we have to first clean the lens. So similarly, we have to clean our consciousness by staying in sattva gun. That gives us clarity. Then when a point is being made by Krishna, it hits us properly. We apply it properly. Things make sense very quickly. So we want to promote sattva gun. Krishna describes food in the mode of rajas and tamas. Tamagun, he says food that is putrid, made of dead bodies. So that's why people who eat meat and this kind of things are considered very tamasic. You may feel healthy and strong, but actually the grade of consciousness goes down big time. That kind of thing. So we'll learn a lot. There's many verses on these three modes, but it's good to know the framework. And we can change slowly our conditioning to be more sattvic. And that is also part of the goal of Krishna conscious spiritual lifestyle. Is that okay?
What was the third one? One was tamas, rajas.
Tamas, rajas and sattva. Sattva is the one of the mode of clarity, mode of goodness. Tamas means the mode of sleepiness, darkness, lethargy. So those are drug addicts, they can't even wake up and they can't think at all clearly, or they're going to insanity. Each of the three modes leads to different end results. If you are predominant mode of sattva, it ends up in happiness. If you're predominantly in the mode of rajas, passion, it ends up in misery. Because it's just too intense, trying to enjoy. And if you're predominant in tamas, the end result is insanity, madness. Krishna says all this. These are all directly from the Bhagavad Gita. He says how it ends up. Those are three end goals. End results, not goals. So, we have to be careful which modes we allow to influence us. Because then, once a certain mode has influenced us, at that point we can't fight it. You see, it's very hard to fight because you're conditioned very deeply. It's like atrophy your muscles. If enough weeks pass and you don't use your muscles, enough months and years pass, and then when it comes time to lifting something, you just fail. At that point, you can't do bodybuilding in 2 weeks. It's too much has happened. Too much conditioning has happened. You see. So that's why we have to build gradually, and then those things work on their own. Then Sattva kicks in on its own. No matter where you are, you'll feel like taking a bath. Because Sattva cleanliness is a quality of Sattva. Brahmanas are considered sattvic. Now, when I say Brahman, I'm not talking Brahman by birth. I'm talking Brahman by guna, by quality. Anybody born in any family can be Brahman. Brahman means one who they will want to take bath 3 times a day. Why? Because it's part of the culture of Sattva. Those in the mode of ignorance, they'll take bath 3 times a year, maximum. That's the difference, you know.
So, we all have certain percentage of all things.
Yes. Ratios. We all have certain ratios. We want to shift the ratio
To
sattva in every aspect of our life.
Maybe one more question out of curiosity here. So it starts with a desire, then Paramatma sanction is the bad desire, why they get sanctioned?
Can I answer that?
Ultimately, we are still individuals. We have choice, right? If Krishna says no, I'm going to limit exactly what you do, and you will only do this, that, and the other. There's no choice. Then there's no individuality, right? So ultimately, just that you have a small child, right? At some point, you'll have to say you have to learn from your own mistakes, right? You might advise, you might suggest, don't do this, but he really wants to do it. Okay, Krishna is similar, same way. He doesn't want us to come back by force. We have to come to that same conclusion that ultimately, we need to go back because we want to go back. Have that loving relationship, not by force. So that's, in essence, the answer.
I have very practical question. Like we read about conquering mind, and of course it's difficult. I cannot control my mind when somebody does wrong right to me. I cannot conquer that thing. Like as far as conquering myself, I think coming here is also one little step for me and coming and learning. But if somebody is constantly not doing good towards me and I still want to forget it, because that is very difficult for me. So how can I practically overcome it?
Can I add to that?
Yes, please.
If you can answer.
Sure.
So yes, I did have a question. So the question is based on, so this was karma plus focus. Yeah. Karma comes from your karma that you have done this life, past life. So you're paying for your deeds, what you have done. Now you're trying to focus. Yeah. Right? Okay. So I'm going to use an example, and I'm trying to understand this thing. So like she said, somebody has done something wrong. I'm just saying, using a different example. Recently, I don't know if you guys heard, but mass layoffs have been happening. People are losing their jobs. So this person lost his job. He's stressed out. He's super stressed out. He's working hard. He can't find anything. No calls, nothing. For months passed by. He's trying to find a friend. He can't find a good friend because he doesn't have a good friend. So to one of your points, dedicate yourself to Krishna, think about Krishna, dhyan, so that dhyan comes in. You can't do that because you're constantly thinking, I don't have a job, I don't have a friend that I can go talk to. I can talk to Lord Krishna, but I'm just talking, like, he's not responding back. So I don't know what to do. Given this situation, I'm completely devastated because I can't talk it out, I can't vent it out, I don't have anybody to go to, my life's, messed up, I don't have a job, I'm trying, I found a job, I lost a job, I found a job, my manager is horrible. So going back to her point, I can't even focus because of all these circumstances. Now, despite the fact I'm trying, I can't, I just can't. How do I get help? Like, how do I get away with this?
So I think they're both related. To Mataji's question also, how do I tolerate, or how do I learn to tolerate when, okay, myself I can do things, but when people are constantly attacking me and I have a hard time forgiving, that's a very difficult situation.
Yes.
Similarly difficult situation, this other, and we all go through that. It's very tough, especially when there's layoffs. We have invested so much of our time and effort into building this particular skill set and career, and we had a career and all of a sudden it's yanked from us, and the ideas we had that we'll be able to pay off the house, and now we can't even pay off we are falling behind a mortgage, is extremely stressful. That's also very heavy. It was also heavy. In chapter 4, we covered last time, Krishna mentioned something about there's nothing more sublime than transcendental knowledge, Divya Gyan. Most of our pain and struggle, like you mentioned, yours, is happening at the level of our mind. You might say, yeah, my layoff is not mind, it's the actual practical thing. What do you mean mind? No. See, the point is, in this world, this Krishna calls this world in the Gita, he calls it Dukhalayam Ashashvatam. This world is Dukhalaya. Have you heard of Himalaya? Him means snow. Himalaya means there's nothing but snow. So Dukhalaya means what? Nothing but Dukh. So to come here and go to Himalaya and complain, yeah, kitna snow yaar? Kya bakwas hai ye sab? No. You are coming to Dukhalaya and you complain there's Dukh.
I get it.
My point is, lot of our pain and suffering is a matter of perspective. Krishna is inviting us to change our perspective, and things really change. It makes a big difference. Two guys going through the same layoff, same exact scenario, one person is Krishna conscious, he'll be at peace. No, because he has faith that, look, what is the worst? We live in America. Why am I stressed out? This is a country where the poor people are fat.
Yeah.
And the obese people are living on food stamps. Why am I worried? मैं चिंता क्या है यार? कुछ नहीं तो चीज तो मिलेगी गवर्नमेंट से. You understand my concept? It's perspective. Why am I worried?
Yeah.
कुछ ना कुछ तो हो जाएगा. I'll do minimum wage job. It's okay.
Correct.
क्या है यार? I'll work at a gas pump. I'll sell my house. I live in a small apartment. My main point is my connection with God. But we have invested so much of our dignity in certain external configurations. Okay, this is the end of the world for us. लोग कूद जाते हैं building से. One guy in the when the crash in 2000 market crash, his net worth went from 200 million to 7 million. He jumped off the building. If our net worth went from where we are to 7 million, we'll be jumping. Why? Because his dignity was tied to his 200 million. You understand? So man ka karan hai. You got to understand this perspective. This life is so short to worry about whether I'll be driving Tesla or a beat up Ford. It's too short to worry about those things. When you change your perspective, these things don't matter so much. We realize they're inconsequential.
Correct.
Even if you lose your H1, you have to go back to India. फिर भी क्या problem है?
ज़्यादा मजे
करेंगे? झकास पानी पूरी खाएंगे?
That's so true. That's
no,
kind
actually
of
this
perspective again.
Again, it's perspective. My point, same thing. When people think of you or talk of you badly, your perspective has changed. She is having problem, not me.
Yeah, that's true.
But our perspective don't change because we have invested our dignity with particular configurations of the external world. So that is why when you really meditate on these things,
It's okay. I can do
and the perspective change. I'll give you one example. Okay. An old man, he comes, he has a big house, it's worth $3 million. He's coming after vacation and he comes, he's driving and he's about to pull up. Yeah, whose house is that? Oh my God, that's my house burning. Completely burning down to ashes, almost finished completely. Everything is gone. He's coming back after 1 month vacation in like, world vacation. He had left the house in the care of his son. क्या यार बकवास औलाद है आजकल घर जला दिया. And then he's crying and his son comes and says, Dad, what, don't worry. Why don't worry? My whole life was invested in that house. No. I closed on it 2 weeks ago. I got an amazing deal. I sold it for twice as much value of market because I really wanted it. So it was worth 5 million, the guy was willing to pay 8 million. Look at this. Now the guy will stop crying, he'll start laughing. क्या wonderful औलाद है, औलाद होता है तेरे जैसी. So you understand, right? It's all perspective. Because the ownership, ये मेरा था अभी मेरा नहीं है. So a lot of the things that we attach our happiness to, because we are not the body, we don't own anything in this world anyway. So but when we actually start realizing it by deep reflection, and the peace you get by actually feeling like, you saw that picture, happiness within. If you find happiness within, then these external symbols of happiness become useless. Doesn't matter actually. हमको खाने को कितना चाहिए? This is enough.
That's true.
2 रोटी तो चाहिए. यहाँ पे तो even if you are completely broke, the government will give you 2 रोटी. कम खाए तो ज़्यादा जिएंगे. वो भी है ना. So you have to change your perspective.
Thank you so much for
ठीक है ना?
Yeah, बिल्कुल.
I hope I
I
answered
knew
both
it,
of
but
them.
I wanted to hear from you too because that creates more impact here.
Prabhu's a living example. Got laid off, 3 months ago?
Yeah.
No one can tell you.
I'm still looking for a job.
Still smiling.
Yeah, I got laid off in
realized
August.
I didn't want to bring that up, but
No, I don't mind. Listen,
See,
I
but
got
the
laid
thing
off in
is-
August. I have 25 years experience. कहीं भी job नहीं मिल रही. It's okay. I'm coming here, get nice fruit. So
see, the thing is,
It's
if
Krishna's
things
plan.
are short-lived,
Ultimately, it's
then
Krishna's
you
plan.
you'll be fine. But if it goes on for years,
I don't know how
How
long
do
it's
you-
going to go on for.
no, not your example.
saying as an example.
Any sufferings that go on for years, how do you still focus? That's
I think
where
it's
I
very-
lose track of, like,
It's
it's
our
like, okay,
past karma. like
कुछ हुआ थोड़े महीने, चला गया. फिर कुछ आया, okay, फिर कुछ कर
See, I'll
लेंगे.
tell you something.
But continuous.
I'll tell you something. If your perspective is wrong, you'll always find something you complain about. You'll always think I'm suffering. Even a rich person will always think, यार मेरे बच्चे कितना परेशान कर रहे हैं, or my spouse is bothering me, or my mother-in-law. Everything is a problem.
Correct.
If you have wrong perspective, you'll find a reason to complain
Something
about
will-
everything.
Something.
And you'll think that's the end of the world and it's so miserable. पैसे की चीज़ है, health की चीज़ है, relationships, legal problems, गाड़ी की problem. I mean, anything can bother you if you allow it to bother you. And if your perspective is right, nothing can bother you. That is what Krishna is trying to tell you. He's bringing you to the point where long term, short term, ultimately all pain in this world is short term. Because our life itself is short term. You have to see it from the higher perspective. कितना जिएंगे हम लोग?
नहीं, इसमें प्रभु मेन अभी तो आपने बीच में कहा था if you are not doing exercise and then suddenly you want to lift some weight,
Correct.
and then you are saying okay, it's not working.
Working, yeah.
So the kind of problem you are suggesting, right, is an extreme life problem. So initially we have not done anything, and suddenly we went to one round chanting and say it's not solving, I am unable to focus. You would not be able to focus.
Takes time.
It would take time, it
Of
would
course.
take lives.
That's a great example. Great point.
So, and there are n number of examples in this world.
Correct.
The
That's true.
person, a lady got cancer. She was frustrated, and doctors said that 3 years and you are done, and lot of frustration. And suddenly she got this, let's call it Krishna consciousness, whatever spirituality she got. And she wrote the book, and she mentioned in that book that my subjective life my experiential life is better than before the cancer. Because the same thing, the way I'm looking to the life
No, it's
is completely changed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not bothering about my daughter's grade.
Correct.
I mean, it's a stupidity, right? Life is a lot more important.
That's true.
So, what is the most important? The life itself.
Yeah.
So, even if you are losing the life, whatever left is your opportunity, right? And exactly what we are doing in our entire life, we are trying to focus on something which we don't have, right?
Absolutely.
So, we sort of we proceed for suffering. We want suffering. We like suffering, right?
Yeah, we get stressed out if we don't have stress.
Yeah.
It's absolutely true.
It's true. We worry. आज चिंता क्यों नहीं है यार? उसकी चिंता हो जाती है. You know, Krishna says, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, na shochati, na kankshati. Exactly what he said. That one who is a Brahma Bhuta means a platform of spiritual understanding. Na shochati, na kankshati. Shochati means what? Crying about what I lost. Lamenting. मेरा ये था चले गया. And kankshati means akanksha. कि मेरे पास ये नहीं है, मुझे चाहिए. I want it. I had it, I lost it. Or I wanted, I never had it. Those things disappear when you're on the spiritual platform. It says, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, na shochati, na kankshati. Then, sama sarveshu bhuteshu, you see everybody as your brother and sister. Everybody is my brother. Including other animals also. Then, that's the platform. The last line is the kicker. He says, Mad Bhakti Labhate Param. Then only can you actually practice bhakti. So, जो हम भक्ति बोल रहे हैं ना, unless we are on that platform, it is only aspirational bhakti. Only when you reach that platform is it now actual bhakti.
Correct.
So we are all trying to practice to come to that platform. Gradually. You will see, Prabhu, this is not an impractical thing. You will see, चेहरे पे दिखता है, you will see on the face of a person who has practiced, they don't get shaken by these things that the average person will be shaken by tremendously. It is a matter of maturity. A little 5-year-old child will cry because lollipop fell down. 25-year-old will not cry if his lollipop fell down. Why? Maturity. ये क्यों रो रहा है? He thinks it's the end of the world. He thinks this is too much of a problem. I'm heartbroken. Tears are coming out. But mature person doesn't see that way because his perspective is changed. So a person with spiritual maturity also will be like the adult compared to the child. It's a matter of perspective. That's all. See, we are never going to die. Cancer or now, nobody's going to die. Krishna says, we're eternal. That in itself is mind-blowing. If we really understand that, everything changes.
You know why I'm attending all these things? Because I have 6-year-old. He is especially non-verbal. So since 2.5-year-old, we were like suffering. After that, somebody told me, just read it. You will get all your answers. And somehow I connect now that your perspective will change to stay in life. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So your perspective will change once you start reading it. This is my first attempt, but my sister, my husband, he has read a lot of time. Then every time I ask him a question that, why me? Why I'm suffering like that? Why my kid is suffering like that? He said, go and read again. Then you will understand why. So this is my first attempt. Still I didn't understand. But might be end of this, or maybe second time I will read this, or third time I will this. Definitely I will get an answer. Why me in that circle? Sorry. I'm just sorry.
No, absolutely not, Mata. And at the end, you will realize it maybe as a reward. And I'm sorry, I'm saying this. I have my personal experience. The suffering which you are facing right now, at some age in your life, you will see it is the reward. It is something which is awarded to you by the Supreme Lord, by the great God, so that you would get that strength, that learning, that understanding which many of us is not facing, right?
That's true.
You-
Because
you-
the
you
same
get-
example, what happened that last week, my friends, they're having the same year of kid, and they were like discussing their problem. And I was like, in that perspective, I'm happy that I still know he will not lie. He don't have that ability to do all these things. And I was like, okay, I don't have to worry about those perspectives there. The other world is worried about 6-year-old is lying and just fooling and bullying somebody. I was like, I'm so proud of you that he don't know how to lie. He don't know how to bully the people. So that's what is like kind of reward and all these things. I'm so sorry.
So see, this is something I know you guys answered. I'm not,
Convinced.
I don't want to say I'm not convinced, because what you said is a fact. What I'm not able to absorb, so to speak, is like to her point. मुझे अपना दुख दूसरों से ज़्यादा दिखता है, पर किसी और का दुख उससे भी ज़्यादा है, right? So if in that perspective, I'm happy. You know, they say that if you don't have money, look at the one who is below you, and if you want to grow, look at somebody who's above you. बातों के लिए सब अच्छा लगता है, सुनने के लिए अच्छा लगता है.
That is not a solution.
But then,
that is
no,
not the
what I'm
right
trying to get is
solution.
like connecting to God and trying to get some way of figuring things out. Like, I don't know, like before coming to you guys over here, no idea. Like, I have a temple at home. I pray every day, twice a day. I do diya, aarti, everything. It's religious. Still, there's tons of things happening. And it's probably some karma that I'm paying for. But still trying to figure out, how do I get out of this? What do I do to not think about this? What do I do to not be stressed about it? I understand one part of my mind says, like you guys have said, it's, you know, how do I explain it? Jo hona hai wo hoke rahega. Don't overthink it. It's not yours. It's beyond your span of control. And what's not in your control, you can't really do anything about it. But still, I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's an devil and the good people fighting inside my head. It's like, I don't know.
We cannot oversimplify this problem by the laws of karma. जो दुख है ना, this is real pain. Okay, we cannot and we should not try to poo-poo or philosophize away real pain. Okay, this is a pain. First of all, we can see how much you love your child. How heavy this feels for you. Any mother in your place would feel the pain. It's okay to cry. Right? Doesn't make you weak. Doesn't make you faithless. Doesn't make you failing. Mothers of special children often feel unseen and judged. And that is completely unfair. Hota, you know. I mean, I'm not telling, right?
True.
Your child is fortunate to have a mother who cares this deeply. Not all children have that. So what you are carrying is not small. There's a Gujarati devotee, poet by the name of Narsi Mehta. He wrote very famous bhajan, Vaishnava jan to tene kahiye, je peed parai jane. A Vaishnava is one who feels the pain of the other. What you are going through is real pain. We cannot do what is called spiritual bypassing. You know what is spiritual bypassing? No, it's okay, let it go, karma hai. No, we cannot and should not. You know what we need to pray for? Krishna, actually Lord Brahma prays a very beautiful prayer. He says, Tat tenu kampam susanishamano bunjani evatma kritam. This is advanced in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto. He says, advanced devotees, what they do? Tat te anukampam susanishamano. Anukampa means devotees wait for the mercy of the Lord. But what kind of mercy? Mercy has many words. Daya, Kripa. But the word he uses is what? Anukampa. Anukampa is very specific kind of Kripa that Krishna gives. What is that Anukampa? Anu means following and Kampana means Kampana. Kapna. जब हम रोते हैं हम कांपते हैं. When we are trembling, Krishna sits next to you and trembles with you at your frequency. He feels your pain. And from that space, Krishna embraces you. I'm here with you. I feel your pain. I see you. I acknowledge you. I love you. This is bhakti. And we wait for that point. At that point, it's not the pain is not real. It's real pain. The pain of a child is not a minor pain. But this Anukampa is something that Krishna gives to us. When Bhishma Dev was dying on the bed of arrows, Krishna was sitting right next to him. He was not smiling. He had a beautiful smile, but he had tears in his eyes also. Why is Krishna had tears in his eyes? Of course, because of his love for his bhakt. But his bhakt is dying, that's why Krishna is crying. Amazing. But at the same time, he's not really dying, he's coming to Dham. But he's feeling the pain of separation that all these devotees will lose this. So, my point is, Krishna is very personal, he's very loving, he's very caring. This is something we have to go through. But like Prabhuji said very nicely, this experience, painful as it is going to mold your life into something amazing. It already has. Because your love is extraordinary compared to average mother. Natural. So your love is like a diamond, but diamond forms under pressure. And this utter innocence of your child who can never lie. You have access to a genuine soul. So, and you're already saying this is a unique gift.
That's true.
That is unique gift. This you see the presence of Krishna in that gift. Now you will see the presence of Krishna in the smile of your child, which others may not have access to, because God has entered your life through that experience. So when we make advancement in bhakti solves everything. It doesn't solve the pain, but it gives us the ability to weather the pain and become so much better that we go from charcoal to diamonds. We all have to go through some pressure. So in that sense, everything can be seen, like you said, as a good fortune, but it requires perspective. And as devotees, we need to be there for each other. We need to give. Vaishnav jan to tene kahe je peed parai jane. Vaishnav is para dukhe dukhi. Empathy, not sympathy.
Yeah, empathy.
Sympathy means what? I feel sorry for you.
Yeah.
Empathy means what? I feel your pain. I feel जितना दर्द आपको हो रहा है ना, मुझे भी इतना ही दर्द हो रहा है. That is Vaishnav. Para dukhe dukhi. So that is, we try to train ourselves that we are there for each other as devotees of the Lord. And we see every soul as potential devotee of the Lord. Sabhi bhakti hai actually. Everybody is bhakta, they just don't know it. That's the only difference. We are all children of God, so in that sense we are all bhaktas. Our job is to remind people.
The more you stay in the association of devotees, the more your inner core strength will develop. Then the real, you will see that your inner self, you can differentiate how I was, how I am, and
That's
how I
true.
can be in, with Krishna in my life. Bhakti, doing sadhana for Krishna is extremely important. We all have very limited time. We think we have long time, but it passes very quickly. And what stays is just this bhakti. If you want to be merciful to somebody, you perform bhakti. If you want to be merciful to yourself, perform bhakti. If somebody is being harsh to you, mean to you, do all the steps to protect yourself and the loved ones who needs protection. But if you are a devotee, and please my dear devotees, remember that being a devotee is not a trivial thing. To consider ourselves devotee, it's really it tests you a lot. But once you are a servant of Krishna, then Krishna takes charge. And if that time, if somebody is just after you to blaspheme you, to sabotage you, things like that, then guess who's going to interfere? Not you, your boss. And when that boss speaks, then nobody can come in the middle. Krishna will take charge. Krishna never likes.
That's very true. That is
So
also the only
hand
thing
it
is
in Krishna's hand.
that is
Let him take
absolute.
care.
As you said, that it makes you more a better person. In fact, I am getting, because I don't like that, so I'm not doing that.
Right.
But the thing is, just conquering the mind, like just
Chant.
I need to forget.
It's a practice.
But
I am actually making suffering for myself actually by always remembering that. But then I asked this
Jab
because
bhi
it's a
wo
happy
khayal
new year,
aaye,
right?
aap-
So I thought, why not ask this question, because I wanted to, but I know that कि ये सिर्फ मेरा है, मैं सोचती हूँ, but मुझसे वो रोका नहीं जाता है. अभी तक वो ability नहीं आई है.
नहीं, yeah, without chanting we cannot get it.
Chant कीजिए आप.
Without connecting with God. See,
बिल्कुल
see
विश्वास के
Mataji,
साथ.
your child is not a mistake. The situation is not a punishment. Sometimes the Lord entrusts delicate souls to strong hearts. Because your heart is strong, Krishna entrusted you to that soul. Krishna is not watching you struggle from a distance. He's very close to you. Because he's given a special, so he's close to you in your heart. बहुत नजदीक है आपके. Even your tears are a form of prayer. Krishna is very kind. So the kindness of the Lord and the fact that you are sitting here discussing, trying to read, trying to understand, ये random नहीं है. This is orchestrated by Krishna himself.
That's true.
It's not random. And when you look back in your life, you will see Krishna's hand at every stage. Right now, we may not realize. We'll see how Krishna is gradually. All of us will see how Krishna is gradually inched us closer to Him without pushing us beyond our freedom. Yeah, you have freedom, but He's always giving us a little nudge. If you look backwards, right now, you'll see that historically, and that will give you strength that going forward also He'll be with you. And that is the sweetness of recognizing Krishna in your life. That's the thing we should consider.
And can we say, Prabhu, that pain is real?
Yes.
Pain would continue. But suffering
is optional.
Suffering is
Suffering.
optional.
we can control.
That's true. That's why I'm practicing all these things so that.
And Prabhu gave that word, Prabhu, today, this perception, the way we are seeing things, right?
It's perspective. Yeah.
Perspective. So the way we are seeing things, if that way is giving us suffering, then let's knock Madana-gopāla Prabhu. I'm seeing this thing like this and I'm suffering from that. What is the different perspective? Because we can't do overnight chanting that much, so maybe that perspective would not be immediately visible to us, and for that acharyas and senior devotee could helpful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we took a lot of it. Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
I'll drop you home.
Thank you.